mortgage markets and more. I'm your host, Peter D'Angelo, with a special episode for you today on a Tuesday to go through August existing home sales data. A little bit behind on this when the report was published last week, but there were some more pressing things I wanted to make sure we covered on the previous episodes. So I thought, let's just do a special episode. We'll drop midweek so that you can have all of the knowledge and be armed with the information of understanding what's been going on with the real estate market as we ended the summer and are heading into the fall market now. The report for September will be available on October 24th. The soonest possible episode I could report out on that, I certainly will. So keep an eye out for that at the end of the month. It may be another special episode just to keep things abridged, and I don't want to take up too much of your time with these episodes. So trying to manage things to a digestible amount of time with quality information for you as you're either a professional in the industry or a would-be home buyer or home seller. I want to make sure you've got all the information needed to make the right decision for yourself and possibly for your family. So let's talk now about the existing home sales. Just to recap, because it's been a minute since we did one of these, there's a lot of seasonally adjusted numbers, and there's also some raw numbers that I'll be providing. Unless otherwise noted, it's going to be seasonally adjusted. And the reason why I like to sometimes share what it's not seasonally adjusted being reported is because that gives you an idea of the actual amount of activity. Seasonal adjustment is based upon when you have a normal, quote unquote, normal market where you have peaks and valleys of activity due to things like holidays, things like that. That all gets baked into the numbers. So that's how we get to the seasonally adjusted figures. So we're going to start off with August 2024, 3.86 million units were sold, and that's down 2.5% from July of 2024 and 4.2% from August of 2023. So quite a contraction on the amount of activity in home sales. When we break it down by region, the Northeast had 480,000 units sold. That's unchanged, pretty flat from July. I could say being positioned in New Jersey and doing a lot of business in the tri-state area, the activity has been rather consistent. So that makes sense. However, it is also flat year over year. So comparing August 2024 to August 2023, pretty much the same. When we go out to the Midwest, you're going to notice in other markets, it's quite a bit different. In the Midwest, 920 units were sold. That's unchanged from July. However, that's down 5.2% year over year from the prior year. In the South, 1.73 million units were sold. That's down 3.9% from July of 2024 and also down 6% year over year. In the West, 730,000 units were sold, and that's down 2.7% from July 2024, and that's down 1.4% year over year. So the Northeast is the outlier. There's still high competition because there's not a lot of inventory still. In these other markets, there is a bit more inventory, so that's why there's a little more volatility introduced because they've been having more inventory for a little bit longer comparatively to the Northeast. Now let's talk about the median home prices. Median is not an average. Median is the most commonly occurring number in the data set. So this is the most common price of a home that was sold. And currently, that is $416,700. That's a 3.1% increase year over year. In the Northeast, the median sales price is $503,200, and that's up 7.7% year over year. The Midwest is at $315,400, and that's up 3.8% year over year. The South is $367,000, and that's up 1.6% year over year. And the West is $622,500, and that's up 2.2% year over year. You can kind of see how there's a correlation here in the information and in the data. When you have a consistent market, you're going to see continual home appreciation because the demand continues to increase as people are graduating college, as people are in a position more to purchase. They're going to be in the market to buy. And if the inventory is not there, it's just going to keep pushing prices higher. So as we saw here, the Northeast is eclipsing almost double each of the other regions in the country. And in the other regions of the country, as I mentioned, there's been quite a bit more inventory, quite a bit in some markets too, where there's things on sale and there's the opportunity to actually negotiate a price, which here in the Northeast, particularly in North Jersey, where I'm situated, I could speak to that a little bit more directly. You're coming in over ask for everything by and large, and you've got to do that to be competitive. Sometimes it's a function of the listing being, the home being listed at a price point that's lower to incite bidding. Other times it's priced fairly. It's just in a very desirable area, and there's the competition element that needs to be bid for. Let's break out now single family and condo and co-ops. Single family home sales were 3.48 million. That's down 2.8% from July of 2024 and also down 3.3% year over year. The condo and co-op sales were 380,000, and that's been unchanged from July of 2024, and that's down 11.6% year over year. The median price for single-family homes, so what we just talked about includes all existing homes, all different types. That's single-family, multifamily, condos, co-ops, the whole nine. Now we're just going to laser focus in on the single-family component. Single-family existing homes, the median price is $422,100. That's up 2.9% year over year. The median price for condos and co-ops as well is $366,500. That's up 3.5% year over year. So we're seeing, the ranges in different markets and different property types in that 3 to 5% range. So the property appreciation is continuing because of pent-up demand and a lack of inventory widespread. Speaking of inventory, let's talk about that. So the total inventory right now is 1.35 million units that are on the market that can be sold. That's a 2.4% increase from July of 2024 and a 27.3% increase year over year. That's good news. We finally have some good news here. There's more inventory that's coming on the market, but as evidenced by the property appreciation numbers we went through and the contraction in some areas of actual available housing and inventory, we can see that there's a path forward here as interest rates have been coming down. Remember, over the past 3 weeks, we've been in a lower environment. This data, though, is before that. So even with the interest rates being where they were in July to August, which is, if you think about August sales data, people were probably getting into their mortgage process, locking in their interest rate at some point in July. And maybe a couple people were in August. But it was July that most people were locking in those interest rates, and interest rates affect buying power. So taking a look at all of that together, it paints us the picture that we have more inventory that's starting to come online, but it's still not enough to meet demand. That's it in a nutshell. As far as months supply, so this gets calculated by taking a look at that inventory number that we just discussed and then saying, okay, on average, X number of homes get sold in this month. So, and that's also seasonality gets factored into that. So they say, okay, we have 1.35 million units pending sale available. Then we will be able to see that there'll be X amount closed per month. So we have 4.2 months. That's our current inventory level. So we've got a supply of 4.2 months. That's up from 4.1 months in July 2024 and up from the 3.3 that it was in August. So we're trending in the right direction. I remember on past episodes when we did these deep dives into the real estate sales report, it was a situation where it was 3 months, 2.5 months. So we're seeing some progress there. Higher amounts of inventory will probably help soften the real estate property appreciation rate. So how fast home values are going up will get tamped down with more inventory because it's a supply and demand economic. Now let's talk about the buyer composition. So this is looking at who were the people purchasing. First-time home buyers were 29% of the market share, and investors were 16% of the sale. All the other ones were second home, things like that. All cash sales accounted for 26% of all transactions, and distressed sales, which are homes that are in short sale, pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, or deed in lieu of foreclosure. That was all 1% of total sales. So that's not ticking up. There was a time earlier this year where that started ticking up a little bit. That is cooling it around 1%. We're going to pay close attention to that number, though, as we look at next month's report and future reports, because distressed sales is going to be our first indicator if there's going to be a significant softening in the real estate market from a value perspective. So the highlight reel of what we went over here today. Let's look at inventory. 4.2 months supply, much better, making progress. Still need more inventory. For reference, a healthy market comprises around 6 months of inventory, give or take. So we're on our way, but we're still not there. Existing home sales for single family. This is where we're going to talk seasonally adjusted and not seasonally adjusted. 3.48 million is the seasonally adjusted figure for single family homes. So 3.86 million units were sold as existing homes. Of the 3.86, 3.48 million were single family properties. That's down 2.8% month over month, and that's down 3.3% year over year. The not seasonally adjusted figure is $341,000. I know, you're thinking, whoa, that's a big difference. It's because of the calculation. When we get this information from the National Association of Realtors, they take into account the seasonality of the real estate market. The 341,000 units sold, not seasonally adjusted, is down 3.4% month over month and down 4.7% year over year. The median sales price for single family, as we mentioned before, $422,100, down 1.2% month over month and up 2.9% year over year. So now that we've gotten all of that taken into consideration, the interest rate level that we had that was setting up these purchases was in the 6.5% range, according to Fannie Mae. So looking at July and into August, the average, according to Fannie Mae, is 6.73%, but, plus or minus, as there was some volatility there, and that set the stage for this. I'm bringing this up to you because right now we're at an interest rate level we talked about on Friday. Interest rates are in the low sixes. This, quite a bit more. It's more than a 0.5% difference. And with every 0.5% in the interest rate change, that increases and decreases buying power in a significant way. So that's point number one. Take that into consideration. Put that in the back of your mind. Second point is that with the lower interest rate comes more accessibility to be competitive in the market. So if you have lower interest rates and you can be more competitive, you can expect home appreciation to continue as long as the inventory levels don't increase significantly. There's still a lot of people sitting on the fence about whether or not they're going to sell because they're sitting on mortgage rates that are very low, well below where we're at right now. We did that one case study a couple weeks ago where I kind of illustrated that the sticker shock of the interest rate should not dissuade you from pursuing possibly selling, upsizing, and or downsizing, because it is a much more manageable increase to monthly payment and manageable increase to how much your housing expense would be than it looks by just comparing, let's say, a 3.5% interest rate to a 6% interest rate. You see that? That's almost double, right? So people think my payment's going to double, but it's not. In the case study that we put together, you're looking anywhere in a range of 30% to 40% more, which is less than half. Obviously, it's an increase, and that was an upsize scenario. If you downsize, it could be flat. Will depend on the market and where you're moving to. If you move to a different market, there's different values. So that's something to consider. Point being is that it's going to get more accessible and probably open up more inventory as time goes on with interest rates that continue to come down. We'll see. I'm going to be providing you with an update on Friday this week, particularly the mortgage interest rate market and some economic data that was released last week and this week. So stay tuned for that. That will help guide us. But That's it for the show today. I hope you found this helpful and useful. Please like, share, subscribe. Reach out to me. You can email me at peter.d'angelo@rate.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Or if there's anything that you'd specifically like me to cover in detail, feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I will be back on Friday with your mortgage rate update and maybe some other pertinent updates as you may be heading into the weekend shopping, or if you're assisting clients with managing their expectations in home shopping or purchase transactions. I hope you find this all very helpful and useful. Have a great rest of your week. Make it an awesome week and take good care.